Hi, this is Randy. Welcome to my channel. Hope all's well with you. God is great to me, so I am thankful this is the day that the Lord has made. I'll rejoice in it, amen, and be glad. We're going to talk about something a little unusual today, not a normal passage or a scripture or a topic that we're going to be talking about. I'm going to talk about Frank Sinatra and what he did to help our church. And so I want you to wait just a minute while I say this. Please subscribe to the channel. Less than 5% of the people watch the video subscribe. It costs nothing, no money, takes a few seconds of your time, and it will help me share the gospel with other people. It's really an upside for the people that are looking, because they can help share the gospel with other people, not spend a penny or worry about it. So if you could help me, that's fine. If you don't want to, I understand that too. It's okay. Appreciate you watching the video. We're going to get into Frank Sinatra and the church. Back in 1969, we had a large youth group. We ran probably somewhere between 25 and 30 young people that were from 13 to 19. Then we had another 5 to 6 that were 20, 21 that were single. And they'd always, every Friday night we had youth night down at the church. And they would come down there, and we were playing music in the dining hall. We had snacks. We had food to eat. We did all sorts of stuff. Our youth leaders were there, a husband and wife team. And then we usually have one or maybe two other adults that showed up. And we'd stay there till midnight. And then we'd all go home, and they make sure we got home. Or sometimes, probably about a third of the time, we just stayed there all night and went home at 5 or 6 in the morning. But they had a station wagon that held 8 or 9 people. And then we had 3 or 4 people in the youth group that drove cars. And this is the way we had to go to other churches to sing and play music. We had a lead guitar player, bass guitar player. I played the drums. We had a couple that could play the piano. We had choir robes if we were going to sing for a church and all this. So we were in, my father said we need to get a van for the youth group. So they had the Ford dealer bring a van down one Sunday. Everybody looked at it, and they told them how much it would cost. Then they had the GM dealer bring it. I think it was a Chevy van. Hard to remember from back then, but I know we had a GM dealer, and we all looked at that. And then the next week they had a King Dodge brought in a Dodge van, and everybody looked at it and went over it after Sunday service, and they gave us a price. So they were going to buy the van from King Dodge, and it was $3,050. That brand new. It wasn't fancy, just automatic and air with an AM/FM radio, and that was about it. It was just it might have had cruise. That I don't remember. I never drove it at that point in time, so I don't remember. But it was just pretty much a van to haul people, seating, of course, and we raised the youth group through donations from people at church. We also had 2 or 3 bake sales. We had 2 or 3 car washes. We sold candy. And you have to remember, in 1969, $3,050 was a lot of money. I mean, it was a lot of money. When I started to work full time in 1972, I made $2 an hour. I started out at $1.60 minimum wage, and I went to $2 an hour, which is $80 a week before taxes. So $3,050 was a lot of money. So we were trying to figure out how we would raise the last $1,000 that we needed. We had $2,050, we're $1,000 short. And we were talking about another bake sale, another car wash. We knew about what they bring in, and we didn't want to get into winter without trying to buy a van. And the church didn't want to go in debt, so we were trying to get it done. And so while we were trying to get this new van in, unbeknownst to us, my sister had been praying really hard, and she was really invested into getting this van for the youth group. And if I remember correctly, I think my sister was 19 years old. And so she was really going gung-ho to try to get the van, because she knew we needed it, and the youth wanted it. And so we were trying to think of ways to raise the money. And so oh, maybe, I don't remember when, it was so many years ago, folks, 69, I can't remember all the details, so I hope you'll bear with me. But I came home from high school one day and I was grabbing the mail out of the floor. We had a mail slot in our door and they put it through and it fell on the floor. I was picking it up and I noticed the return address on one of them is a real nice envelope, said Frank Sinatra on it. And it was addressed to my sister. Well, my sister lived next door. So I called her and said, hey, you got a letter here? And she goes, I'll be over after a while. I said, well, it's from Frank Sinatra. And boy, she came flying over and ran in and grabbed it. And she was shaking and she tore the envelope open and was working on it. I thought, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, she probably wrote and got a signed autographed picture. But it was a normal business envelope, so I started thinking before she opened it, if it is a picture, it's going to be a small one because it was just an ordinary letter size. She opened it up and she looked at the letter and she had this thing in her hand. She started crying and walking around the living room real fast crying. Then she started kind of shouting a little bit. And I said, what is wrong? What is wrong? And she didn't answer me. By that time, my mother and father came in. They said, what's going on? I said, she got a letter from Frank Sinatra and she's crying, hooping, hollering. I don't know. So I grabbed it out of her hand and I looked at it and he wrote her a letter and said, I got your letter. And I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember all the details. You have to understand, it's a long time ago. I don't remember a lot of details, but I do remember he said, I want to help your youth group out and help you get your van. He sent her a check made out to the church for $1,000. Now that was 1/3 of the price of a brand new van, $1,000. And he sent it, and she was crying, and I couldn't believe it. I had to look at it 2 or 3 times, and he wrote in there, I hope that the church youth group really enjoys this. Go get your van, or something like that. And then he wrote a couple, 3 other things personal to her. It was a 1-page letter, but it was really, really nice. And but at the end, he put P.S. One request, please. And it said, don't tell anybody where you got the money from. I don't want nobody to know that I donated it. And he basically said, paraphrasing, he wasn't doing that because he's afraid somebody else asked him for money. He was doing it because he didn't want anybody to know where it came from. And he wanted to be private. So my dad read the letter and he said, we'll keep this private. It can't leave the house. He said, now the church treasurer will know, but I will talk to her and she'll be silent about it. And we're not going to tell anybody he did it. This is what he requested. He gave us a real good donation. We're going to be able to get our van, but we're not going to tell anybody where it came from. So that coming Sunday, and I don't know what day that week was. I don't know if it's middle of the week, start of the week. I don't know. But that Sunday, my dad got up and announced to the church that he called King Dodge, and they were going to bring the van down the next day, Monday, and we had the money to pay the van, to buy the van. And he said we got a $1,000 donation, and it's to pay off the balance that we would owe on the van so we can get the van for the youth group. And then my dad did say, he said, I know a lot of people will be wondering who donated $1,000. Nobody in this church, could probably afford that, and blah, blah, blah. And he said, we had an entertainer who donated the money from the church, heard about our need and donated it. And they don't want to be known. They don't want their name mentioned. So we're not going to tell you. We can't. This is their request. But just thank God. Let's all rejoice. Everybody stand up and clap. Everybody did. And thank the Lord that we got the rest of the money. The kids don't have to keep washing cars and selling candy. And we even had a chicken dinner sale. And the reason I remember this real quick, I'll tell you, is because I found an old flyer a few weeks ago. We were given a half a chicken with coleslaw, a bread roll, and a dessert for $1.65, trying to raise money to buy the van. So it was really good. Well, after Frank Sinatra died in 1998, my mother has long gone to heaven. So did my father. And my sister had moved to a different state, and we were no longer at the church. And so I had a few friends that I've kept all my life that went to the church when this happened. So I told them who gave it. But I knew that he was deceased and it was no longer a problem. And we had kept it under wraps for 79, 89, 99. He died in 98. It was probably 99 or so, maybe 2000 before I told him about it, for over 30 years. And I told him that she felt inspired of the Lord to write him, and she did. And he evidently, the letter moved him, and he decided to help us get our van for the youth group. So I thought that was pretty neat. God moves in mysterious ways. And sometimes God will make things happen that you don't think will happen. We were all sitting at the church the Friday before that, trying to figure out what we were going to do to try to raise another $1,000. And if you'll see, $1.65 for a chicken dinner takes a lot of dinners to raise money. Not only that, some of the stuff wasn't donated. We had to buy a few things, and you had to have paper plates and stuff like that, boxes to put it in. And back in those days, it was pretty good money, but it wasn't. It would have took us a long time to raise another 1,000, and we would have got through the whole summer. We wanted to go camping, wanted to go to a church place to sing at some churches and this and that, and we wanted to run around during the summer, and we wouldn't have been able to do it without that van to go with the other cars that we had. So I just thought I'd tell you this. I went a little longer than I should have. But I wanted to let you know that God moves in mysterious ways. Sometimes God will answer you. It may not come in a fish's mouth, but it came through an entertainer. And I thank God that he did what he did. Frank Sinatra did a wonderful thing for our church. And I found out years later he helped a lot of places and a lot of charities, and I had no idea. So I thank God that he did what he did. And that van was a real blessing to our youth group and our church and made a big difference. Thank you for your time this time. Till next time, old Rev May signing off. Please don't forget to subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you would. And if you want to make a comment, I'll get back to you as quick as I can. Have a wonderful day. God bless you.